This evening, illegal electrical connection sparks fire in Norton Street, damages 2 buildings. Senior citizen pedal cyclist killed in collision with minibus on Cotton Tree Public Road. CANU seizes $4.5 million in cannabis, makes multiple arrests in Tabatinga and LETHEM. In the region, Colombia Peace Caravan, efforts to end violence in affected region, and internationally, Afghanistan bitter winter. Severe cold kills more than 150 people. Welcome to this broadcast of Channel 2's Headline News Updates. I am Bibi Bacchus. Thank you for joining us. We begin tonight's newscast with a tragic accident, all caught on camera. Police are investigating a fatal accident that occurred in West Coast Berbice that claimed the life of a 74-year-old pedal cyclist, William Johnson, of Railway Line, Rosignol Village, West Bank, Berbice. The accident occurred on Wednesday, January 25th around 10:30 a.m. on Cotton Tree Public Road, West Coast, Berbice. It involved a minibus BRR 1805 driven by a 64-year-old man of Zorgen Hoop, Blairmont Village, West Bank, Berbice, and a now deceased 74-year-old man. Inquiries disclosed that the minibus was proceeding west along the southern side of the said road at a normal rate of speed. The pedal cyclist, who was proceeding west along the northern side of the road, is alleged to have suddenly turned south into the path of the minibus, resulting in a collision. As a result of the impact, the pedal cyclist fell onto the road, receiving several bodily injuries. The 74-year-old Williams was picked up unconscious and taken to the Fort Wellington Public Hospital, where he was pronounced dead on arrival. The man's body is presently at the Bailey's Funeral Home awaiting a postmortem examination. A breathalyzer test was conducted on the driver and it showed no trace of alcohol. However, the driver remains in custody as further investigations are ongoing. In other news, the Guyana Fire Service was alerted to a fire on Norton Street, Lord Georgetown on Wednesday, January 25th, around 3:32 p.m. Upon arrival, firefighters observed a 2-story wooden and concrete building engulfed in flames. The building was unoccupied at the time of the fire and the owner is unknown. Investigations revealed that the fire resulted from illegal electrical wires and wiring, which caused arcing and sparks, resulting in the fire spreading to nearby combustibles and the entire building. Also affected by the fire was another 2-story building located nearby. The Guyana Fire Service is warning citizens to desist from using illegal connections for electricity. These connections pose a serious risk to life and property since they could cause fires or electrocutions. Moving on to our next story, the Customs Anti-Narcotics officers in Tabatinga, LETHEM conducted an operation that led to the discovery of 2 parcels of suspected cannabis concealed in a bucket on Wednesday, January 25th. A total of 3.4 kilograms of cannabis were seized with a street value of approximately 1 million Ghana dollars. 3 individuals were arrested and taken into custody for questioning. In a separate incident, also on Wednesday, CANU officers intercepted a car on the Avenue of the Republic in the vicinity of City Hall. A subsequent search of the vehicle revealed a salt bag containing several parcels of suspected cannabis. Clyde Anthony Barrett, also known as Clivey, a 45-year-old resident of Calendar Street, Alboystown, and the owner of City Vibes Sports Bar and Lounge, was arrested and taken into custody. The suspected narcotics was tested and found to be cannabis, with a total weight of 11.58 kilograms and a street value of approximately 3.5 million Ghana dollars. Both cases are under investigations by the Customs Anti-Narcotics Unit, and more details will be provided as they become available. Stick around when we return. National budget debate addresses investment in healthcare, training, and infrastructure, and ExxonMobil makes another major oil discovery at Fangtooth SE1 well in Stabroek Block.
Furnishing your home or office has never been easier. Here at Kissoon's, our inventory of locally made and imported furniture, offered at amazing prices, will leave you wanting more. From vinyl, floor rugs and carpets, bedroom, dining and living room sets, mattresses, pillows, office desk, chairs and filing cabinets, outdoor benches and tables. We have a piece of furniture for every room imaginable in your home or office. Check out our flagship store at Industrial Site Rijnveld or one of our branches in New Amsterdam, Port Morant, Riverton and Camp Street. Kissoon's Furniture, furnishing homes for over 50 years.
Good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny?
I want money for borrow for do a surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, Lot 238 South Road, Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lender's, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
When you need money and you gotta get it fast, Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop is the place for that confidential transaction in a quiet and secure location. You'll get the highest value per pennyweight for your gold and also enjoy the lowest interest rates and longest payback period too. Yes, for that instant transaction to solve a pressing financial problem. That Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop, 46 Boyle Place, that's between the Ministry of Housing on Brickdam and White Castle Fish Shop, be your first and only choice. Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop, safe and sound, solid and secure, always there for you. Telephone 231-7878 and 223-8955.
Sooner or later you will have another power failure. Are you prepared for the next blackout? Some essential equipment such as security cameras, lights, internet, gate motors, and water pumps may stop working. How can you prevent the next blackout? InverterTech has an affordable solution for you. A strong UPS system which uses the latest inverter and solar battery technology to prevent blackout. We smartly calculate your average power demand so you don't spend more than you need to. Call 223-2233 for more information.
Welcome back. As we continue, we have an update on the country's oil and gas industry. ExxonMobil, the operator of the Stabroek Block, has made another significant oil discovery at the Fangtooth SE-1 well, located 8 miles southeast of the original Fangtooth-1 discovery. The announcement was made by its partner Hess Corp on January 25th. According to Hess, Exxon found around 200 feet of oil-bearing sandstone reservoirs, adding to the block's total estimate of more than 11 billion barrels of oil equivalent. This discovery at Fangtooth SE-1 is being targeted as the 7th development for the Stabroek Block. The first discovery at Fangtooth-1 was made in January 2022, when ExxonMobil encountered around 164 feet of high-quality oil-bearing sandstone reservoirs. In other news, during the 2023 National Budget Debate in the National Assembly, Government Member of Parliament Dr. Beriram Saran highlighted the government's effort to train medical personnel in preparation for establishing 6 new hospitals across the country. He noted that the training programs has produced 1,000 new doctors and will lead to a wider network of modern and well-staffed hospitals. The 2023 budget also includes funding for upgrading nursing schools and offering online theoretical nursing courses for private and public health facilities. The government has partnered with prestigious universities such as MC Masters Canada and York University to offer postgraduate training for doctors. These initiatives are part of a larger strategic plan by the government to build a world-class health system in Guyana. We have a follow-up report on 2 police constables, 29-year-old Albert Beresford and 22-year-old Julius Cambridge, along with 32-year-old Sheldon Benjamin, a mason of Vigilance West Coast Demerara, were charged with possession of narcotics for the purpose of trafficking and possession of ammunition without a license when they appeared at the Cove and John Magistrates Court on Wednesday, January 25th. The court heard that on January 16, 2023, police officers from Regional Division 4C were conducting a roadblock when they stopped and searched a silver grey premium motor car driven by Benjamin and the 2 police officers who were acting suspiciously. During the search, officers found a grey and black traveling bag containing cannabis and cocaine, as well as several rounds of ammunition. The trio appeared before Magistrate Fabio Azor, where the charges were read to them. All three men pleaded not guilty to the charges and were remanded to jail until February 28, 2023. Don't go away after the break. China rights group says COVID protesters being detained, and FSC gets court order to block winding up of SSL.
Sooner or later you will have another power failure. Are you prepared for the next blackout? Some essential equipment such as security cameras, lights, internet, gate motors, and water pumps may stop working. How can you prevent the next blackout? InverterTech has an affordable solution for you. A strong UPS system which uses the latest inverter and solar battery technology to prevent blackout. We smartly calculate your average power demand so you don't spend more than you need to. Call 223-2233 for more information.
When you need money and you gotta get it fast, Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop is the place for that confidential transaction in a quiet and secure location. You'll get the highest value per pennyweight for your gold and also enjoy the lowest interest rates and longest payback period too. Yes, for that instant transaction to solve a pressing financial problem. That Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop, 4-6 Boyle Place, that's between the Ministry of Housing on Brickdam and White Castle Fish Shop, be your first and only choice. Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop, safe and sound, solid and secure, always there for you. Telephone 231-7878 and 223-8955.
Furnishing your home or office has never been easier. Here at Kissoon's, our inventory of locally made and imported furniture, offered at amazing prices, will leave you wanting more. From vinyl, floor rugs and carpets, bedroom, dining and living room sets, mattresses, pillows, office desk, chairs and filing cabinets, outdoor benches and tables. We have a piece of furniture for every room imaginable in your home or office. Check out our flagship store at Industrial Site Rijnveld or one of our branches in New Amsterdam, Port Morant, Riverton and Camp Street. Kissoon's Furniture, furnishing homes for over 50 years.
Good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny?
I want money for borrow for those surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, Lot 238 South Road Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lenders, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Hey, this is your fancy vehicle and that is your house?
Yes, this is my vehicle and actually I'm waiting on my land. I'm actually renting this house for $50,000.
$50,000? You head more? You crazy? You mad? You head no good? Why you buy? Look, let me show you the light. Come with me.
Come on down to Fabulous Homes today. Pay $50,000 every month for 36 months or until you reach 50% of your house costs. Move in after 75% of the cost has been paid.
This is wonderful. Let's go. Sign me up.
Alright, let me go and dash you your landlord.
To explore our home ownership program, check our Facebook page for more information or come down to our office at Avalon Friendship.
Hey, Chinese, thanks, man. Thanks a lot, man.
You got through?
Yes.
Call us at 227-1380 or 615-8740. Fabulous Homes International Realty, changing tenants into homeowners.
At Fabulous Homes, we bring your dreams to life.
Welcome back. Now we take a look at what's happening in the region and around the world. Jamaica's Financial Services Commission has obtained a court order to prevent investment company Stocks and Securities Limited from closing down and selling off its assets. SSL is being investigated for a fraud case worth nearly $3 billion. The FSC went to court after SSL tried to close down. The court order will prevent SSL and its leaders from selling or using any of the company's assets or money, stop them from making changes to the company, and prevent them from closing down the company or selling off its assets. The FSC will now be in charge of the company and its assets until the investigation is completed. As previously reported, Usain Bolt had given SSL, in which he has made significant investments, 10 days to return his missing US $12 million or face legal actions. He's among more than 20 people who have had their accounts depleted in the reported fraudulent activities now being probed at SSL. Meanwhile, in South America, a humanitarian caravan is traveling through the jungles of Colombia. It is part of an unprecedented move to help people displaced by decades of conflict with armed groups such as the ELN. Al Jazeera's Alessandro Rampietti has had exclusive access to the caravan.
An eerie silence envelops this abandoned village along the San Juan River in western Colombia. Its people displaced by violence of armed groups fighting for control of this territory. Gloria Murillo has returned after she was forced to flee in December. Most of her family possessions are gone, and she's overwhelmed by emotions.
The more we speak up, the more we denounce, the more we're left alone, until we're disappeared. I only wish I could be in my house, resting with my children, even if it isn't much.
Murillo is part of a unique peace caravan traveling with members of the government peace negotiating team and its sworn enemies, the National Liberation Army Rebel Group, or ELN. They're drafting a plan to help bring urgent humanitarian relief to this and other communities affected by fighting.
We want to reach a substantial agreement with solutions for the communities. We are here to hear your concerns and proposals, including any criticisms you might have against the ELN. We're here to hear them.
The United Nations, civil society organizations, and international observers are also part of the journey. The San Juan runs deep in the Colombian jungles close to the Pacific Ocean. It's a lawless territory rife with drug routes and illegal gold mines. There are no roads, nor any sizable state presence, no basic sanitation or health services.
During the last couple of years, renewed clashes between the ELN, the army, and other armed groups fighting to control this territory have forced hundreds to flee and others to remain confined in their villages.
In this indigenous community, a paramilitary group imposed a curfew, and landmines surrounding the village mean they can't move, hunt, or grow food anymore.
The confinement harms our food safety. We can't harvest freely anymore, nor go to the fields. The insecurity means we never know what can happen at any time.
Gustavo Petro, Colombia's first leftist president, has promised to change all this, bringing to an end 6 decades of conflict with his ambitious total peace plans, trying to negotiate deals with all criminal groups. The leader of the government delegation hopes the caravan can be a first step in this direction.
The government and its institutions on one side and the ELN on the other need to build the conditions for people to return and remain in their territories. It's a partial measure, an emergency measure, which doesn't mean we will not address more structural needs, but this is a necessary step to try and address this tragedy.
But many like Gloria say they heard it all before.
We want to believe that this government will do things differently, not only say it wants peace, but be able to construct it, because one thing is desiring peace, another is making it happen.
The caravan will turn their findings into a report they will present to peace negotiators in February in Mexico, who will then devise a plan to implement immediately, hopefully bringing some relief to those who for too long have only known abandonment and neglect. Alessandro Rampietti, Al Jazeera, along the San Juan River.
Internationally, a wave of freezing temperatures is sweeping across much of Afghanistan. In roughly 2 weeks, more than 150 people have died. Al Jazeera's Katia Lopez-Hodayan reports.
It's the coldest winter to hit Afghanistan in 15 years, with temperatures dropping to minus 34 degrees Celsius. Avoiding the freezing cold isn't an option for most people in this makeshift camp in Kabul. Shasya is displaced and doesn't have much to protect her family. She says the conditions were simply too much for 2 of her children.
The weather is so cold. Recently, 2 of my children died. We don't have enough to heat the room. When we can, we try to bake bread to keep warm.
Distributing aid to survive this weather is challenging. Humanitarian groups say the Taliban's recent ban on female workers and non-profit organizations is limiting their reach. In this local school, the weather is also posing challenges.
During the early morning and night, the weather is so cold that most of our students cannot come. Some older students manage to make it, but young ones cannot.
Most foreign aid has been suspended since the Taliban returned to power in 2021. The government has limited support and money.
We ask friendly countries and the United Nations to help all the poor and needy people affected by this situation.
People are struggling to survive. Now humanitarian groups fear the harsh winter will further deepen an already dire humanitarian crisis. Katia Lopez-Oloyan, Al Jazeera.
And finally, rights group says Chinese police have been quietly arresting young people who protested against COVID-19 restrictions in November. Many of the demonstrators were given warnings. Others who were detained have not been heard since. Al Jazeera's Katrina Yu reports.
This video is being circulated by the friends and supporters of Zhao Zhishen, a 26-year-old book editor who has not been seen or heard from since December. If you're watching this video, she says, I've been taken away by the police. Rights groups say she's among dozens of people who have been detained since taking part in demonstrations against China's zero-COVID policy in November.
I was not surprised by the crackdown, by the punishment by the government, but I was very surprised by the actions and courage of young people.
The protests in several cities were the largest seen in China for decades. They were sparked by the death of 10 people in an apartment block fire in the western city of Urumqi. Critics say their deaths were preventable and blamed strict COVID-19 controls. Some called for the stepping down of Chinese leader Xi Jinping, but most stood in solidarity with those who died, demanding an end to restrictions.
We have the right to express our emotions. Our sympathy is for those who lost their lives. That's why we went to the scene. This vigil was attended by thousands of people. We followed the rules without conflict with police.
President Xi downplayed the movement as frustrated students, but shortly afterwards, police began contacting, questioning and warning those who attended, saying the gatherings were illegal. Protesters say they did not give their details to authorities.
This area by the Liangma River here in Beijing is where protesters gathered in November. Like most public places in the city, it's blanketed with high-tech surveillance cameras like this one.
China has one of the most sophisticated surveillance systems in the world. Facial recognition cameras and mobile phone tracking devices were used to identify demonstrators, say rights groups. China's foreign ministry has denied any mistreatment.
China is governed by the rule of law, and the various legal rights and freedoms enjoyed by Chinese citizens are fully guaranteed.
Zhao Zhishen was initially detained for 24 hours and released. But as some of her friends began to disappear in the weeks to follow, she suspected she would be next.
If they want to convict us, show the public the evidence. Do not let us disappear from this world unjustly.
Friends of Zhao have told Al Jazeera they are very concerned for her well-being. She was last heard from on Christmas Eve. Katrina Yu, Al Jazeera, Beijing.
This brings us to the end of our regional and global news coverage. Up next is the 3-day weather forecast. concludes today's headline news update. Tune in tomorrow, Friday at 5:30 p.m. with our next broadcast. For more news and updates, you can visit our Facebook and YouTube pages. Until then, please take care of yourself and each other.